So the monthly card for March has been revealed, and I am excited for a number of reasons. If you haven't seen it, the monthly card is Sower of Revenge. Sower of Revenge is a Daedra. It's a 5-cost warrior card that is 5/5 guard and has a last gasp that does 5 damage to your opponent. Now, the reason that I'm excited for this card is for a number of reasons, actually. One, on the face of it, in case you couldn't tell already, it's pretty good. I think it's going to be really good for warrior aggressive decks and warrior mid-range decks, primarily the non-orc versions. So there was a deck list that Corey Millhouse tweeted out a while ago that I think this would fit nicely into. It might even fit into some of the orc lists, but I think that it's going to be kind of competing for the same slot that the Wood Orc Headhunter falls in. You're not going to replace your Shadowfen Priest with this, and some of the other 5 drops might just complicate things, right? Like, that's part of the downside, I guess, to the card, is that 5 is already a pretty impactful slot for the warrior archetype. You have things like Blood Dragon available, Shadowfen Priest available, Wood Orc Headhunter if you're in the Orc synergies, things like that. But again, I still think that you probably find room for it, at least in the non-orc warrior mid-range decks. And if you're playing any sort of like aggressive deck, I think that this certainly fits as being the top end of your curve. I say that because you get the 5/5 body, which is great, but because of the last gasp effect, your opponents either have to avoid it, in which case you get to swing in with it and go face. They have to kill it, in which case they're taking 5 damage, or they have to silence it and then kill it, because silencing it alone means you can still attack with it. And so if they silence it and kill it, then they're using multiple resources, which will hopefully help you kind of get ahead. Again, that's why I think it's probably best in a mid-range style deck as opposed to pure aggro, because it's one of those things that just generates value for you. But so that being said, I'm really excited for this card as well because it's a warrior card. So if you're not familiar, or if you're a new player, all of our monthly reward cards to date have been of a single attribute or neutral. So it's either straight intelligence, things like Hissgrove, which are just endurance, Mechanical Ally, which was neutral. But this is the first time we've seen a cross-attribute class-specific card as our monthly reward card. And that's exciting because that means hopefully we'll see some more. There are 10 classes in the game, and if this is the start of a trend like the other ones were, then maybe here in the near future or for the next 9 months or so, we'll be seeing some more class-specific cards, and that's really exciting. Class-specific cards tend to be a little bit more powerful than their counterparts because you are like limited, right, in the amount of uses that you have. So cards like Edict of Azura, for example, are the way they are because they're only played in the one class. Whereas, Piercing Javelin, still strong, right, but doesn't have the flexibility of an Edict of Azura because it's willpower specific. So it's an exciting time because that means, again, if we're getting more monthly reward cards that are class specific, we might see some more, significantly impactful, or at least, more higher on the power level scale style of cards in the immediate future, if that's in fact what we are getting. The one downside is that this means that monthly reward cards are probably less likely to like define or alter the meta. So that is one of the drawbacks of it being class specific. So Hissgrove, for example, right, when it hit, it really changed the meta. And not just for Scout, like everyone remembers Scout, but there were Sorcerer Ram decks, Spell Sword Ram decks. Basically, if you could run Hissgrove, people were trying it out. And being that these are class specific, Sower of Revenge is only going to get played in Warrior, right? So I fully expect an increase in Warrior decks played at the beginning of the month because people will want to try out the new card. That's pretty normal. At least on day 1 of the new month, it's pretty normal to just see whatever the monthly card was played in abundance. Like this past month, it was Heroic Rebirth, again, a neutral card, and it was kind of everywhere on day 1. And then that dies off as the month goes on, unless, of course, it's like Hisgrove and it drastically changes or defines the meta. So this card is good. I don't necessarily think that it's, you know, meta defining, but I would expect to see an uptick in the number of warrior decks played, and you know, that's good. Warrior's kind of underrepresented. It's not quite as low as, say, Monk right now, but for the most part, with the exception of the Orc decks running around, it hasn't been seeing a whole lot of play. There are some people who are playing it, so Mr. Bonaire, I see you there. I know about your deck. I've played it on the ladder. It's good, but I think it's also safe to say that just because, you know, 1 or 2 people are playing those lists, it doesn't mean that that is enough, right? So it's just underrepresented in terms of the ladder right now. I think this card is going to help out with that, and so that's exciting. It's exciting to see class-specific cards, and I'd like to know what you guys think, like always. I'm curious how you guys would plan to play this. I know some people have said that even Control will like it. I personally don't see it necessarily in Warrior Control. The 5/5 guard for 5 is pretty solid, but I think the Last Gasp kind of pushes it out of control because you don't want to give people free runes, and that 5 damage is very significant in the Last Gasp because it does just that. Unless you let your opponent gain health, in which, you know, I don't know how you're gonna like force that on them. Otherwise, you're stuck giving them a rune. So I don't know if he necessarily fits in Control, like some people are suggesting. But like I said, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're excited. What kind of warrior lists you plan on playing him in. And you know, as always, I will see you next time.